Anyway, we're going to move on now to the first topic. And I saw a tweet. So salute to Crate 808.
Salute to Crate.
Salute to Crate 808. Friend of the pod. They tweeted quite recently a simple question. Are we living in a hip-hop golden era right now? And it got a lot of traction. A lot of people saying that, you know, we've been living through it for the past 10 years. We're doing it right now. The definition of a golden age has changed. Some people agreeing, some people not agreeing. So I kind of just wanted to get you guys' opinion, really. Because obviously, hip-hop, I'd say, across the board, in 2022, is in a very healthy place. Artistically, creatively, commercially, very much in a healthy place, whether you like the music or not that's coming out. But does it equate to a golden age? What is a golden age in 2022? Has the definition changed? What does it look like?
What does healthy look like?
For me, I think healthy is you have a generation of artists, whether it's mainstream or underground, that are dropping good quality stuff and just being consistent with the work.
And do you reckon it's happening in the mainstream now?
In the mainstream, in the mainstream, maybe not as much as the quote-unquote underground, but I think even the word underground might need examination, because I feel like right now, there isn't necessarily an underground because of the internet, someone like a Denzel Curry or Griselda have their fan base to the point where if they become popular enough, they're not necessarily underground, but they're not mainstream either. It's kind of like a weird kind of purgatory for them. So I don't necessarily think there's as much of underground now as there was maybe 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. So in that respect, I think healthy is just these artists coming together, dropping just amazing projects and being consistent with their work. It's not necessarily like culture-shifting albums a la Illmatic or Reasonable Doubt, but it's just like some of the best artists maybe hip-hop's ever seen, just dropping consistent work and continuing to grow their fan bases, expand their musical horizons, and essentially just fly the flag for hip-hop, basically.
That's healthy, but I don't know if that equates to a golden era, though. I think for the reasons that you just stated with regards to the Reasonable Doubts and the Illmatics and just that era and the albums that came from that era, like you can clearly see what those albums became and the influence that came from those albums versus what's being released now. Can you honestly say that there are albums being released now or have been within like the last 5-10 years that are going to impact and influence things that are going to happen in the next decade?
Well,
and if you can't, then I don't know if we can say golden era.
Well, here's the thing. Is the definition of a golden era simply artists dropping culture-shifting work, stuff that's going to be remembered in 5-10 years' time?
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do I think we're in a golden age now? No. I think what we're getting confused is hip-hop being the biggest genre in the world with... What's you going to say?
I think there's something happening in the UK, though.
Okay, cool. And I'll get back to that. Because I think we're in one in the UK now as well, which we'll get back to. I don't think either. I think we was, and I think we kind of are shifting away from it.
You've more or less said that, yes.
Yeah. Sorry. But back go back to America. I think there's a difference between rap being the biggest genre in the world and us living through a golden age. Has it been bigger than it's ever been now? You could argue no. But when I look at golden ages, I specifically look at what's come out of it, if that makes sense, the quality of music that's come out of it. If you ask me the last golden age we've had in hip-hop, I would say the early 2010s. When
golden age?
Not golden age, but one of them. Remember when we had the Coles, the Drakes, the Kendricks, regardless of the music, we had certain people that was coming out. If you look at now, and you look at the music, we had the Good Kid, Mad City come back out then. We had what was his mixtape called? Cole's last mixtape.
Friday Night Lights back then. We had a Big Sean. Regardless of the caliber of the artist, the music was better. Do you know what I mean? Back then, whether it was Wale dropping something, Meek dropping something, MMG, there was just new faces around and the quality of the music was at a certain level. Whereas I think when you look at it now, I don't think the music that's coming out equates to a golden era. I still don't think that equates to a golden era, man.
I think,
we've got the examples. We've got the examples of what the hell a golden era looks like.
You say 2000s had a golden era.
When?
I'm asking you.
Nah.
So you think the last golden era had within the 90s?
Yeah.
That's why you're an old head.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm
That's
not
so
saying,
unfair.
No,
You don't think we've had...
Hold on. I'm not saying we haven't had fucking amazing albums that have come out, but the time frames in which those amazing albums have come out, like within the 2000s, hasn't spanned the same amount of time as the 90s.
What do you mean?
Like, for instance, like you had amazing albums from like I think there's been a couple of golden eras. You had the first one, which was like 86 to like 93.
Yeah.
And then you had from like 93 to like 99, maybe? You could argue maybe.
I follow you.
And then after that, I don't think so. I don't think there's been a span of time within the 2000s where culture shifting albums were being released.
I think
you've had small little pockets where dope albums were being released, but not long enough for it to be considered a golden era though. I don't think. Actually, no, I won't even say that. But yeah, I just don't think like there's been like the pockets have been long.
I don't
enough.
necessarily think that a golden era should be equated to an era where culture shifting albums are going to be dropped every week.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, in fact, let me even take that back. I wouldn't even say it was from 93 to 99. That's probably way too long.
No, it wasn't.
It's probably from like...
I'd probably say 98. 97, 98.
I think when Big died.
97 then.
97.
Yeah.
I mean, DMX, I think you can count.
I think that was another era.
Oh, you think it was another era?
Yeah.
All right, fair. Yeah, I just feel like those culture shifting albums are great and all that stuff. I think with that, not that we've gotten greedy, but our understanding of a golden era has probably been warped a little too much by the idea and the notion that a golden era has to be when culture shifting / genre defining albums are released, rather than, consistent artists dropping consistent work over the years and, everyone doing that in kind of unison.
I think that's what we had in the 2010s.
But I would say that maybe not necessarily golden era, but it's an era where, the scene and hip hop generally, the genre, is doing quite well. You know what I'm saying? If like Denzel and Griselda and, Drake, Kendrick, Big Sean, all these people are dropping consistent bodies of work, whatever your opinion is, at the same time, something's happening. It might not necessarily be a golden era by someone's definition, but it depends what the definition is. But there's something to be said about that era. There's something to be said about that generation where we're getting consistent, great work from all of these artists at the same time.
I think we probably have to split it between the overground and the underground. Mainstream and the underground. Because I think there was definitely something golden to like the era of the underground where Rock Marciano, Action Bronson, Griselda, all them men were doing what they were doing. There was something special there for sure. We can call that a golden era. Maybe.
I think you could though.
But because it wasn't so consistent, that's why I don't know if I can consider it a golden era. Because Rock Marciano was doing his thing before Griselda came along. He was doing his thing like in pockets. Do you know what I mean? And then Griselda came along and were doing it for like. Do you know what I'm
saying? I think the 80s obviously set the benchmark. The 90s then surpassed it. I think if we're gonna have a golden era by like one example or one definition, what's happening in any particular time after the 90s would probably have to be as good, if not better. But really and truly, you're probably not going to reach that level because by that time, hip-hop was still fit. There was still a lot of room for hip-hop to be this behemoth of a genre that has cultural importance. Whereas now, the rigmarole and the room for it is very small. Like, if you think of people who move the culture now, depending on who you ask, some people will say Kendrick, some people will say Drake, some people will say Future, some people will say Migos. So it just depends on who you're asking. But they're not necessarily going to be a Nas Illmatic or a Jay-Z Reasonable Doubt or, those sort of monumental and sentimental albums that have also grown with time.
So do you think we've had a golden era since the 90s? Just mainstream? If I had to ask you, have we had a golden era?
Mainstream, probably not. I mean...
I think you're going to have to
50 Cent's era was a golden era. In the mainstream.
For 50?
For 50.
Yeah.
For 50.
That's not a golden era though.
Well, I think you have to, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sticking on, I think 2010s has to be. When you've got so many artists.
2010s?
Good Kid Mad City.
Mm-hmm.
Section 80.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Go on.
And what's the other one?
That's not a golden era, bro.
No, Dark Fantasy.
It's so Dark Twisted. I'm not talking about.
That's not enough.
No, but this is what I'm saying. I'm not talking about the albums. I'm talking about the artists that came through.
That don't count as a golden era.
How don't? The golden era is
because of the albums,
Is Kendrick one of the best ever?
Yes.
Is Cole one of the best ever?
You could argue it.
Is Rick Ross one of the best ever?
No.
No?
But he was dropping good.
That's
great
my point.
Good to great
Around
work.
2010s, he was dropping the Teflon Dons. Kendrick was dropping.
Oh, bro.
My point is, the abundance of new artists that we have that still are here 10, 15 years later.
Don't matter.
Me personally, I'm just saying, I look at that and it has to be. When you've got 9 artists that come out in the space of 11, 12 months, because even Game was dropping albums in 2011, which were great, in my opinion. They were great albums he dropped in 2011 and 2013.
Yeah, and again, like the 2010s as a decade from 2010 to 2019.
I won't even say
I probably wouldn't say that.
I'll say
maybe like
2010 to 2015.
If you want to do it, then maybe like 2010 to 2015, maybe.
I think so.
Okay, you know what? I just thought about something, and it's probably unfair, innit? I think holding on to the 90s and what the 90s did and what the 90s produced is probably unfair for like artists that come out after that, because you have to look at what was being done when those artists from the 90s were doing what they were doing. They were doing things that hadn't been done yet. They were advancing sounds in a way that hadn't been done yet. So the artists that come out afterwards, it's very difficult to not do what's already been done in it.
Yeah.
But that's no one's fault.
But that's why...
So, regardless, bro, it still is what it is. I know it's unfair, but it still is what it is.
That means we're never going to have another prime.
No, because you could still have a pocket where the exact same span as the 90s happens in another time, and you just have all these jaw-dropping albums that are released and start shifting shit. That can still happen, and then we can say, all right, yeah, boom, another golden era. But where you have like in the 2010s, yeah, you might have had like in 2010 where Kendrick dropped the same year as Kanye dropped. Drake might have dropped an album the same year, but maybe it was a bit below par. Cole might have dropped an album the same, but it was below par. That's still not enough. You would need more within that 2010s period.
I understand, but
there was a lot going on in that 2010 period.
I'm not saying it's not, but the music though, bro.
I'm talking about the artists.
But that's what we focus. It's not the artists, it's the music.
And I think the music was...
Bro, there are artists from the 90s that we don't talk about today. Really. They didn't have long careers, but they dropped albums that shaped shit.
No, and I understand. I just think the 2010s artists that came through...
No one's talking about Black Moon today.
No one's talking about Black Moon.
You're talking about Moon.
But you get what I'm saying, though. But they dropped an amazing album, though.
This guy really well.
But they're part of the golden era, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I think the definition is skewed because of what you just said, to your point. Like, there's so much that they could have done in the 90s and the 80s that probably won't be repeated in the 2010s and now.
If you're a female rapper, you had no one the whole of 2000s. And then you had Nicki in 2010s. Mm-hmm. That might be a golden era to a female.
No, she was the only one.
No, this is...
Unfortunately.
I think we're living in the golden era now for the ladies.
Yeah, I think so. I'd say more so that now.
Fair enough. But I'm saying, imagine if you was a female rapper, you have no one, and then 2010s, Nicki come, and then, cool, we're back now. Do you know what I mean? I think there was so much that happened in 2010s that, even if it's for the short 4 years...
There were moments. We had a lot of moments. But bro, I don't think that equates to a golden era.
And the reason why I think it does is because I genuinely don't think we've had one since.
But
I think that I would always give it to that, because them 2010s to 2014, 15, there was so many albums, so many artists, there was so much going on that to me, I would always look at it as...
I personally think the term golden era can be interpreted in whatever way. I think it can be interpreted in a way of this is an era when the culture was changing and the culture was being shifted by all these albums and all these bodies of work.
In a positive way.
In a positive way. I mean, sometimes in a negative way as well. But you can also say, if we're talking about today, it's an era where some great work it's just great work coming out every year from like January to December for like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I think you could also argue that, and I think that was the original premise of Crate's tweet. Are we living in a golden era right now? I don't want to assume, but I don't think Cam thinks that, you know, the culture's being shifted necessarily in the same way that it was in the 90s, especially someone who lived during that time and lived to see it. But there's a lot of work coming out from like mainstream, quote unquote artists, quote unquote underground artists that are just of a higher level that it demands the term or something close to a golden era, because there's just great work being dropped from all centers, left, right, center, everywhere. You know what I mean? So I think it can be interpreted. It depends on how you look at it. I think if we're just going to put it as the era when the culture was shifted, Illmatic, you know, Follow the Leader, all these other albums, for me, it might be a little bit too rigid, because by that logic, we're never going to have another golden era sort of thing, because hip-hop has moved along so much.
That's not true, though.
But I think hip-hop has moved along so much, unless you're a very special artist, how are you going to move the culture? On a cultural level. I think mainstream-wise, there's still a lot to do. Like, that's why whenever Drake drops, he breaks records and he moves culture in that regard. In terms of the actual art form of hip-hop,
I think it's been done quite a lot since the 90s, though. You have the Kanye West, the Tyler creators that like experiment with sound in a way that we haven't seen before. So they are very special artists, and they're artists that within their own pocket and their own bag, they push shit forward. There's just not many doing it at the same time that they're doing it, which is why we don't have a golden era. It's that pocket thing. If you've got individual artists doing it at particular times, then it doesn't equate to a whole era. It just, you have singular moments, which isn't enough to say golden era. Do you know what I'm saying?
I feel
that's
you,
the only thing. It's not to say that we haven't had special artists since the 90s. We've had a lot.
No, of course we have.
You could argue that you lot might not believe it, but I probably enjoy way more albums after the 2000s than I did in the 90s.
You're right, we don't believe you.
No, we know that. No. I believe him.
Yeah, bro.
Most of it's R&B, so it's fine.
Yeah, you're right.
No, but even
and it stops at 2015.
Rap though.
Yeah, it stops at 2015 as well.
Whatever, man.
2010.
But rap though. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. It's just a singular thing, innit? It's just a pocket thing. If we can get to a place where, you know, we have like a good like 4 to 5 years of like amazing albums dropping, then we can have this golden era conversation again.
By how many artists though? Because you talk about people, one person not equating to a whole era. So how many artists does it need to be to equate to an era?
It won't be as much as the 90s because the 90s was just a different time, innit?
Yeah.
But like, give me like 6, 7 artists, then we can have the conversation. But giving me like the same 2 or 3. Nah, man.
I hear you, but I'm looking at 2010s now and I'm taking it, man.
Go on and throw some albums.
2010, we got Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah.
We got Teflon Don.
Yeah.
And we got Thank Me Later.
Bro, Teflon Don is not.
I think Teflon Don.
It's a great album, but it's not.
I think Teflon Don's a classic.
It's not enough to like.
I think Teflon Don's a classic. I genuinely, I think
it's a classic. It's a great album.
I don't know if it's a classic.
I mean, if you have to give Rick Ross one classic album, to me, it'd be Teflon.
But here's the thing.
Teflon's an amazing album. That's what we do. It didn't do much else, though.
And that's what we're doing to artists now, post 2010. We're giving them one classic, even though it's not a classic. We did it to Cole. We did it to Drake. We're doing it to Ross.
I didn't give Drake any. I don't think Drake's got
Forest Hill Drive is being given to Cole.
I don't think it is though. I sincerely think Teflon Don is. I don't think any of Drake's.
Can I ask you a question?
But Take Care is his classic. Classic.
My point is, but I think
not every artist needs a classic.
You're right, but I think Teflon's way more of a conversation than.
And I'm glad you said that. And I'm glad you said that.
Sometimes you can just have really good albums. And that's it.
But that's why I feel like you could argue that now is a golden era, because even if people aren't dropping classics, they're dropping consistent, very good albums. People like Vince Staples, people like Rock Marcy, people like Earl Sweatshirt, people like Griselda. They're dropping consistently good to great albums.
That's still relatively.
Bro,
I don't think that's unanimous though, bro. That's still relatively subjective. The 90s was unanimous. There were not many albums in the 90s that you would argue weren't good albums. It was more of a collective decision that, all these albums are fucking amazing. And that's why I don't think you could raise that argument.
I think you can, because ultimately, music is subjective. He's saying that music isn't better than it was back then, and that's his opinion. I think we can be subjective when it comes to all of this. As much as we try to be objective, it probably isn't going to be possible.
But it also comes a point in time where it's just like, it's written in stone. It's not subjective. It is what it is.
And
it's only
and we can't escape that all the time.
It's only objective if the majority agree, right?
Which is the 90s, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
But I don't think that's fair, though.
There you go.
But I'm just saying, I agree that the 90s was the peak.
And I also think...
If we're going to always compare to the 90s, bro, we're never going to admit we had...
It's not about comparing it to the 90s, though.
It is.
But I also think that fan bases have diversified. I think hip-hop fans and opinions have diversified since the 90s. I feel like with the 90s, because you probably didn't hear as many fans sound off about what they think is hot and what they think is not. Whereas now you have the internet, you have social media, you can hear from everybody and their uncle what they think is hot and what's not. That's probably muddied the waters in that regard too. So maybe there were people back in the 90s that thought, hey, this shit wasn't it. And we didn't hear it. Whereas now we can hear everything.
But the majority feel a certain way about the albums that came out within that time, as well as the critics.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas nowadays, we could love Pusha T's album, but Pitchfork can be like, yeah, nah. The Guardian might be like, yeah, nah.
Yeah.
But Rolling Stone can be like, yeah, nah. In the 90s, you didn't really have that.
But that's why it's harder now.
Rare.
But that's why it's harder now. That's why it's harder now for anything to be deemed a golden era, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. So you're saying we haven't had any from the 90s? Yeah, me?
I don't want to say golden era right now, but we're going through something right now.
Is this the first
if I was gonna give one, then I'll say what Griselda, Rock Marcy were doing on the underground.
What year?
See, now I can't do it because what Rock Marcy was doing was different to when Griselda, they weren't doing it at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't even do that then.
All right.
And you say 2010s?
I would say if I had to, I'll say 2010 to about 14, 15. Just the amount of, I don't think...
You're going to rethink that.
No, I'm telling you, when you sit on that amount of artists that came through them 3, 4, 5 years, I just remember it like it was yesterday. From even just when I say golden era, I'm not comparing. Musically, 90s is always going to win. But when there's a 3, 4 year period where Meek's coming through, Wale's coming through, and then you got Cole coming through, and then
So
got
what if they're coming
but
through?
my point
What are
is,
they dropping?
And this one, I'll tell you why though, because if you look at it 05, 06, 07, 08, it was a very stagnant period. Take away Kanye, take away 50. My point is, we went through a period in hip hop in the 2000s where it was garbage.
Let me tell you what Mo's doing.
Yeah,
Let me tell you what Mo's doing.
We not go for a peak
But let me tell you what Mo's doing.
At any point, did we
Mo's
not?
equating hotness and excitement to a golden era when the music isn't backing that up. Meek's first album weren't all that. Wale's first album weren't all that. J. Cole's first J. Cole's first album weren't all that. What are we doing here?
We're not gonna, I thoroughly enjoyed Ambition. I don't know what you want to tell you. Sorry for that.
That wasn't his first album though.
Wale's
Attention Deficit.
Wale's.
That was Attention Deficit was his first one. And it weren't all that.
But what year did that come out? I'm talking about when he got signed to MMG. That was 2010.
Okay, Ambition was alright.
I liked Ambition.
So yeah, it was alright.
And I liked Dreams
But
and
this is what I'm
Nightmares.
saying, subjectivity though.
But
Bro.
it's fully subjective.
If he loves all the albums that came out within that time, of course he's gonna be like, oh yeah, golden era.
No, but
that's not reality.
My point is, we was going through a bit of poverty in hip hop. There was a period we was going through poverty, and I feel like 2010.
What year was that?
I would say about 08, 07, 08. There was a period where
Wayne was holding shit down.
Carter 4 was whack to me.
The mainstream.
No. Carter 4 hadn't happened at that point.
Carter 4 came out 2010, 2009, 2009.
You just said 07, 08.
Oh, what year did Carter 3 come out?
Carter 3 was 08. I think Carter 4 was 11. I think.
Carter 4. Yeah. Carter 4 was black to me. I genuinely think there was a period of hip hop into 2000. I need to double check this.
It was like 06. In the mainstream, it was like 06.
There was a period where it was shaky.
In 94,
we went through a period
DJ Premier produced an album for Group Home. 3.5 stars at the very least. What are we doing here?
It was a great album.
The beats were banging though.
Beats were fantastic.
There we go. That's more than half the album.
I'm saying, we could put this on TikTok. I think through the 2010s to about 14, 15, we had an alright period. Whatever you want to call it, golden age, non-golden age, syrup age, whatever you might want to call it. We had a 4-year period
Silver
where
age.
I thoroughly enjoyed music.
Bronze age.
Let's give it silver.
I ain't giving it.
Can we give it silver?
I ain't giving it.
That man ain't bronze.
Yeah,
a good kid came out of it at least. It's not bronze. Silver, we all agree.
I'm not agreeing on that, man. I got to think about that.
Yeah, I have to think about that as well.
We went for to me, 2010 is the last. Now I don't think we are at all. I think if we had to look back at any year, I'll say the 2010s are about 14, 15.
All right. Well, before we wrap up this topic,
Group Home's album was at least three
This
stars.
guy.
it wasn't, man.
What?
Just off the beats alone,
100%.
it wasn't just a 3-star.
Oh, you're
I
bugging.
can't do it. I'll give it 2.5.
2.5.
The rest has to give
Oh,
the rest. And I love Primo, but I'm sorry, but the beats can't be the only thing that drives an album to 3 stars.
You're
Yeah,
bugging.
nah, I'm good, bro.
Primo in the 90s? Yeah, man.
Yeah, but not everything Primo did in the 90s was amazing.
No, but like between like 91 to like 96, I don't know, man. Primo,
I don't think everything
Primo
he did
might
was
have been
amazing.
like undefeated, but
I don't think everything he did was amazing, but it's cool. Before we wrap up,
Well, salute to DJ
what did you want to say
Premier.
about the UK?
I just said that I feel like the last few years it's kind of felt like something's happening here, man. I feel like the albums, the way artists like Dave and Sims are constructing albums, man, it's just something I don't think the UK has seen before. I know Kano's given us a lot of great albums, but there's just something different about the way, especially Sims. There's just a lot more themes, and there's just a lot more like time and effort being put into it, and the musicality is just on a crazy level. So it feels like something is happening here.
I think we are experiencing what the 80s/90s was for America right now. And we're going to find new artists and artists who've been like grinding for so long in the underground, then rise to the surface and drop amazing work for a few years yet. So I agree in that respect. It's still a lot of catching up to do, but we're definitely getting there, 100%.
Yeah.
Definitely going there.
The
I
UK
know.
had a golden generation as well.
Had.
Like 2015 times.
Had.
Yeah. I said it, music media now.
You did say that.
Hey, some people want to copy. No, come on, there, man. I'm not doing that.
Listen, man.
Maybe
It's
do that.
homage.
Yeah, exactly.
Homage my ass.
It's homage.
Better say my name.
It's homage. Why is it only homage when you like it?
We say?
Why is it only homage when you like it?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Fans need to answer a lot for their crimes, if I'm being honest with you.
We do, innit?
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
You lot,
We absolutely do.
you lot don't accept shit just because you don't like shit.
We absolutely do.
So it is what it is. But shout out to fans and shout out to
Facts.
everybody trying to make this thing a golden age, even if it isn't.
Hey, man.
That was great.